Who decided what success, happiness, or the right way to live should look like? Because we're calling bullshit on it. Join us, my co host Kristen, and me, Ghislaine, as we navigate the wild ride of choosing an authentic life and building businesses straight from our hearts. In every episode, we unpack the rules, the roles, and the expectations we've been handed. And we ask, who made that shit up? And we decide for ourselves what actually works. With raw honesty, laughter, and the occasional existential crisis. Yes, yes, we do have them. We share our personal challenges, we celebrate breakthroughs, and we hold space for real transformation. We reflect what we can't yet see and we keep each other accountable. We remind you that you are not alone in questioning the script. So if you are ready to challenge the norms, trust your intuition, and build a life that feels right, not just looks right, let's walk this path together.
Mhm.
Ta-da!
Spirit fingers.
Ta-da! Yes, exactly. So, Kristen, tell me, how are you doing, beautiful?
I'm good. I'm in a house with my whole family. So
Okay, so the existential crisis is happening today, yes?
not yet. Maybe by next week.
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to schedule it in, but maybe by next week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my parents are here, my brother and sister-in-law and my niece. So my parents arrived yesterday. And
Yeah.
so by next week I'll be like a little burnt biscuit ready to go. No, but so it's nice. I am
But they might be listening, so everything is perfect. Mom, Dad, I love you.
everything is perfect. No, it hasn't been long enough to I'll say this, like there was a point in my life where I did not like my parents and I didn't speak for several years.
Mm.
And my relationship with my family was super tense, and
Mm.
there was so much anger and
Mm.
hatred and rage and blame and a while ago, and it's been an unfolding process. And so every time I'm with them, I get to see the gifts of how much the growth has happened,
Mm.
and
That's
I get to
beautiful.
see how my relationship with my parents have changed. um I've got to move out of the wounded kid,
Yeah.
and into the adult, and I get to
Mm-hmm.
see that, and then I get to see where there's also areas of growth
Yeah.
that are still needed.
Yeah. And you know, this is the part of every person's life. At one point, we learn to build a new relationship with our parents and not just seeing them as our parents and keeping ourselves in the role of the child, but
Mhm.
also ourselves growing out of this role. I've for myself also, I guess everybody goes through this consciously or unconsciously. I remember that I used to really get frustrated. I'm not going to say angry, but more frustrated at the fact that each time when I was with my parents or with my family, I would be thrown back into the 16-year-old.
Mhm.
That's a little bit the age where things came back towards. They kept treating me like the 16-year-old. They kept seeing me like the 16-year-old. And at one point I realized, yes, but Ghislaine, how do you behave?
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe you behave like the 16-year-old. And I guess also when if I want people to, well, maybe when we want people to treat us differently, we are invited to look at ourselves. And so I was really invited to look at how do I behave when I'm around them. And it was me that was actually the leading in that in this. So
You were reverting, and then yeah,
exactly.
it's interesting because at one point I realized, because it that has been a thing, like for me with my parents, and it's been a thing where, but then I realized I reverted back just as much.
Yeah.
And so of course when I'm acting like that, they're going to treat me like that.
Yeah.
And it's also been interesting.
Oh, I'm so sorry. There is something happening with my computer. I have no idea what this is.
Oh, I hear you talking in the background.
Yes, because I accidentally pressed on a button and apparently it opened my my videos. Okay, I'm so sorry for this
No, that's
interruption.
so
Please tell me.
but it's interesting because when I'm with, what I've realized throughout the years is that I had to look at and heal my relationship with each person within my family individually.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to heal each person within me with each person as like different collectives, because the dynamics shift and change. And so healing things with my brother, for me, when my brother and I are together, like things are really good now. But then when you throw my parents into the mix, things can change. And so it's like with my mom and my dad, like things are really good with me and them. And then when you throw all of us together, the dynamic completely shifts. So I have, over the years, I've had to look at healing the different dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it was easier, like the dynamic changes based on the people and the dynamic,
Yes.
and different patterns come out.
So did that have to do with the fact that you heal your relationship with your brother and then your relationship with your parents, and then when everybody got together there was a different energy? Was that also
Mhm.
maybe because they hadn't healed or changed the relationship between them? Because
Um,
that also needs to happen,
yes and
or
no, because
needs.
I've done um because when we do healing work, like the people around us are also, even though they're not necessarily participating one-on-one, they also shift and change, right?
Yeah.
The dynamic shift and change. But like how I've seen it is, it's more just the it's a reflection of not having looked at maybe those aspects, because as an adult, the last time we were all, like up until recently, like the last time we've all really been together was if when we were really young,
Hmm.
or when we were in high school, right? So um and then it's like family vacations, so I could see the pattern like here and there on family vacations. And then our different patterns are like, and a lot of the patterns for my family were like how we sided with people,
Hmm.
or like how things would be like, or like picking on, teasing people, like how that like dynamic would work. And it went back to like, well, we just hadn't, the pattern hadn't been shown because we hadn't really been spending large amounts of time together
Hmm.
as a family. So it
Yeah.
wasn't really an awareness I had. And then I would go into these family dynamics and be like, I've done so much work. How is it still like this?
Yeah.
And then it would just be a reflection of the next thing to look at, because it is layers, right? Like, okay, well, that's not fun for me. I don't enjoy this pattern. And I don't also like, in the importance of clearing it or looking at it and having awareness around it, I don't want to bring that pattern into my future relationships or family.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I would just look at it as like, I mean, sometimes I have to remind myself, but like, what a gift that I can see this and look at it. And so that when I'm married with children, I'm not repeating this pattern
Mm.
of the interaction, of the communication, so yeah, but it's always an adventure.
Yeah, it is. And I've heard someone say once that after we are grown up, it's not natural for us to live again with our parents.
Hmm.
It's not really natural, and well, that's also the maybe it's also the dynamic where we are in as a society before, because I think even not so far away as maybe 60, 50 years ago, it was very normal for elderly parents to go and live with their children. So maybe that is something that is for us present, but
Hmm.
that wouldn't particularly be the case. But in that, I often wonder because my parents lived in France, and my father still lives in France. And so when I am visiting my parents, I'm
Hmm.
not visiting my parents. I'm staying 1 week long with my mother is not alive anymore, but with my father. When he is here, he's not just here to come and drink a cup of coffee. He's here like for a whole week, always around. And so I guess, and for you, I guess it's the same because you don't live very close by with your to your parents when you had
Hmm.
a real
Hmm.
house, a real home, so to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're together, you're not just having a cup of coffee together. So I'm wondering for people that go and have a cup of coffee with their parents and leave afterwards, if they are confronted to the same things as that we were.
I would say, I'm not in a relationship right now, and I haven't been in by choice and by for many reasons in a relationship for a while. Um, but I would say besides for maybe a partner, or actually I would say even maybe before a partner,
Mm-hmm.
the number one, the number two people you have the most shit with are your parents.
Yeah.
They're the ones who programmed you. They're the ones who influenced you, disciplined you, made you into, had the most influence on who we are as an adult, whether by their presence or their absence.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like the everything. So when I won't say everything, but so many things go back to them.
Yeah.
And our fears, our likes, our dislikes, who we perceive ourselves to be, how we experience the world, so much of it goes back to our mom and our dad. And 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 like I said, it doesn't matter if they're a present parent or if they left when you were a kid through whatever, through anything really, whether it was by choice or by passing. And so as an adult, when you're in it, it brings all of that back up.
Mm. Yeah.
It's like, and instead of looking at, like, for me, I mean, in the point where it would, before it would be like, oh, you're triggering me, you're pissing me off, you're treating me like this, you're treating, but it's really who I then would become, like you were saying, in their presence, right? It was
Yes.
who I was becoming around them. And because they were, it's like poking the wound.
Mm-hmm.
And being in that all the time, it's a massive chance to grow because I'm no longer this helpless little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when we're a kid, we feel like we're at the control of our parents. They run our lives. They can say yes, they can say no, and that can be like how it feels. There's no other options.
Yeah.
As an adult, it's been an opportunity for me to, one, forgive, move out of this like helpless victim of this child, and move into being an actual adult. Because
Mm-hmm.
most people, I won't say most people, a lot of people don't move into that aspect of themselves emotionally. They live in the childhood version of them, because our subconscious is what really controls us, right? So like most of us don't move out of that. We're still that little kid, even if we're not with our parents.
Mm-hmm.
I was, right? And so it's been a massive shifting, changing experience for me.
Mm. It does
And again,
ask a lot of conscious reflection to look at yourself and with critical eyes
mhm,
what you are doing and why you are doing it instead of, I guess, staying, because the opposite would be staying in the victim
mhm,
mentality, the victim personality, so to say.
mhm.
And that being said, I want to say that everybody has aspects of themselves where they stay in the victim.
Oh, completely.
Because
And we can
when
move
I
in and out of it.
yeah, and but there are some aspects that are so triggering that we address them. And then we know, and then we catch ourselves. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, okay, Ghislaine, you're not the victim of this, you know, get your
Mhm.
shit together, and this is the way you want to go. Be the adult, be the queen that you are, and hold yourself. And so but the victim, so even what I just wanted to mention is it doesn't matter how much work you've done or how evolved or how much therapy you've done, there are always going to be some aspects of your life where you just can't see yet, and you are holding and keeping yourself into the victimhood.
Mhm.
And you know, it's also survival,
Oh, yeah.
because it's, you know, it's denial, it's survival, because those aspects of us are part of a system. I often speak about it as being part of a system, like family system, constellations.
Mhm.
I think you do work with that as well, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think in English you call it family constellations.
Yes, I'm not necessarily trained in constellations, but
Ah,
I use aspects of I've studied it through
yeah,
text, and I use aspects of it quantumly when I do my healing in the so
yeah. Okay. So in English you call it constellation, and in Dutch the word we use is familiesystems. So
mhm,
familieopstellingen, and then opstellingen is the word, and then we talk about the system of the family. And what I like about that aspect is the system works perfectly fine. The system in itself is surviving, and so whenever you poke at the system, you poke at the system of the family, at the constellation of the family, the system is going to fight against you to stay alive, because the system doesn't see the problem. You have a problem because your emotions are all over the place, or because you are unhappy, or because this makes you unhappy, or because you want to change something, or whatever the reason. But the system in itself, it's somewhere here, so to say,
yeah,
and it's perfectly fine, and it's living and surviving. And no, it's not thriving, but you as a person want to thrive. And the system thinks, well, you know, father is doing good, mother is doing good, sister is doing good, Ghislaine, she's alive, so I don't see the problem. And then when you start going into that, into those aspects, yeah, when you go into those aspects, you're being also attacked, so to say, by the system, because the system is alive and is functioning. And so it's like,
mhm.
you know, it's like those animals that live in you. How are they called? Parasites.
It's like what animal?
The animals that live in you, you know, the parasites.
Oh,
I'm so sorry
no,
for
it's
the
okay.
visual.
I'm gonna be doing a cleanse soon, so I'll be getting rid of those little suckers.
Oh, I like that. I also want to do cleanse. Let's talk about our cleanse, yes, next time. Well, not next
Oh, I would
time,
love
but
to. Yeah, I'm trying to yeah, okay, side note. That's a side
well,
note.
it's the
Go ahead.
same. They also okay. So well, it's a perfect comparison actually. You know, the parasites, they are not good for you, but they are just meant to survive. So they just they go on and on and on and on, reproducing themselves and living, and you know they are annoying you, but they are really thriving. So if you put a anti-parasite thingy in your system, the system is going to go, hey, what is happening? It's going to fight. And then often you're not going to feel good in the beginning. So it's the
Mm-hmm.
same when you address the things within a family or a system, because we talk about our families because maybe this is the invitation that we received, but some people receive this kind of invitations when it's when constellation is also the constellation at work, or only the constellation with your children, with your family, where
Yeah.
that you build for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, or the volleyball team, or yeah.
Yeah, and it is I think like in this, the main thing about like the conversation is looking at the trigger aspect, right? Because to me, if I'm triggered, it has
Yes.
nothing to do with you.
No.
It you like because I mean, you could say something completely loving and thoughtful and all of it, but it pokes something in me, right? And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, and I have this whole reaction to it internally, but you didn't do anything.
No.
And it's what has I turned, and even if it's not something nice, like even if someone does something to me that is harmful or hurtful, like what am I, it goes back to like kind of what we were talking about last week, like what am I making that mean about me? Like
Mhm.
why is like what is this connected to in the past that is like being pulled into like that I'm pulling back to be
Mhm.
like, well, there that meant this and this now means this, and really looking at that, and also in the same sense looking at having that discernment of what am I making it mean about me is separate from what's happening to that person,
Exactly.
because they're making something mean something about them and I'm making something mean something about me, and those two don't have to be connected.
No.
Like we're both having our own full perspective world experience that can be completely different. It's how we can all go to the same thing and experience something completely different because it's from a different point of view.
And this is exactly what it is when we speak. I wanted to say they, but I also speak about that when we speak about parallel universe.
Yes. Yeah. It's
The
the same.
universe you live in is different than the universe I live in, and sometimes we come together and we experience the same universe, but still from our own universe
Perspective.
perspectives.
Mhm.
Yes.
And our
And
perspective is like its own universe.
exactly.
And that's actually, it's interesting too, because when we talk about healing or anything like that, it's not changing the event, it's changing the perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's
Yes.
like switching realities into like, I'm seeing it this way. This is the way I see it. My way is right. I'm angry. I'm this, I'm that, like whatever. And then it's looking at the same event from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's that shifting and evolving. And really, it's not just like you were saying, it has nothing to do with just family. It has to do with anything, like, and everything.
Yeah.
Because we always like, I don't like the word always, but like a lot of times we we have to remind ourselves that, especially I feel when I was starting my journey, that like I'm right
Mm-hmm.
by I'm right by my view, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
but my view is not the truth. And when you start unpacking it and being able to move out of that illusion you've created,
Mm-hmm.
because it is an illusion, right? Then you unpack it and then you're like, oh, maybe I wasn't the person I thought I was from that perspective or from this perspective. Or it's a fun, I turn it like for me now, try to turn it into a game. It does not always
Mm-hmm.
feel like that when I'm in it.
Yeah.
But
To
like
recognize it.
what will I uncover about myself? Oh, I
Yeah.
wasn't very nice there. Or like, or oh, um interesting perspective, or and that's how we shift things.
You know, I've heard Peter Kroon speak about this in a very nice way, and it ties back to what we spoke about just before this, and what we speak now about. It's there's no one that can say or do anything that is going to annoy us. I'm gonna say, for a lack of a better word for now, as long as the ground is not there for it to annoy us.
Mhm.
So he talks about that the ground in us is ripe to be fed that which the other person is offering us or throwing at us or
Yes.
giving at us. So
Mhm.
exactly like you said, it doesn't have anything to do with the other person, but the ground that is within us is ready to receive or ready to just let it be where it is, which is with the other person. And I like that visual that he gave about it being a ground, because you know, what do you cultivate? How do you treat your ground? You know, how do you take care of it? Do you make sure that the souls are rich for things you want to grow in there or on there? Or do you leave it filled with dust and parasites to make sure that anything that, or to not to make sure, but to, and then have the risk that anyone else that brings anything in there is going to be growing, you know?
Mhm.
So, and I love that idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think like that's beautiful. I like that as the ground because it is the ground. Nothing can grow in our garden
Exactly.
if like we're not nothing we want can grow in our garden if we're not planting it, right? Like so and if people are it has to resonate with us. It has to match something we unconsciously believe to be
Mm-hmm.
true for it to bother us.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So if someone like is like, "Oh, you're an idiot," right? And you it doesn't resonate at all with you, you're just gonna walk away and be like, that person must be having a bad day.
Yeah.
And then but if it resonates with something in you and it may not be the words, it might be I'm always people always attack me, people always say mean things to me, people are always rude to me, people hate me, it could be anything that then has that you then attach to that, like whatever meaning you're making that mean, and then you
Mm-hmm.
then people can carry that with them all day and it ruins their whole day.
Exactly.
But it's because that like you're an idiot hit something and they connected to,
Yeah.
and then they carry that with them and it ruins their day and they've like now carried that around with them. But or it could be okay.
But again, that's being a victim, because that's letting something that someone said
Affect you.
rule your day.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I
And
think the way to sorry, go ahead.
no, no, no. Yeah. Ta-da!
You were still
Woo, woo, woo. Well, why would you let anything destroy your joy like this, your day? I mean, yeah, I can't remember what I wanted to say. I'm sorry.
yeah, well,
There was a much greater point to this
I
thing.
apologize.
No, no, no. It's okay. It's just like, you know.
Well,
Tell
I
me.
think in that right because learning to not let it destroy your day is a skill that people most people have to learn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Skill. And in that, like for me, it's oh, in like I go into like, oh, interesting that that's bothering me.
Yeah.
What am I making that mean about me, or why is that bothering me? Like, and because sometimes then when you notice, because I think when people are at different stages of their journey, like if you're so consistently in victim 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 and you've been there for a really long time, you don't recognize that these patterns are happening.
Mm-mm. You
And then
don't
as you
see that.
start
Yeah.
recognizing them, you're like, ooh, because it's super confronting. Because no one wants to be called a victim. Well, that's not true. Some people do enjoy being called a victim. Or
Well, people don't want to be called a victim, but they do want to keep on blaming other people. So
oh,
no, they
completely.
don't like being called a victim because it's not it's always going to be someone else's fault.
It's confronting.
Yes, but I'm not a victim. He did that. That's why I react like this. No, you react like this, and there's nothing to do. But so what I'm curious about is you said when something like this happens to me, or when you feel that there is
Mhm,
something that is triggering you is maybe the right
mhm,
word. Yes.
mhm.
You
I just,
said now I've reached that point where I just think to myself what is, well, you reflect on what is happening. I can't remember exactly what you said.
I say, I'm like, oh, interesting.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
bothering
Oh, interesting. So what got you to that point?
me.
And I'm not
Oh,
talking about your whole life story. I'm not
yeah,
talking about
no,
all the
no,
adventures in Europe. I'm not talking about shit about your parents. No, no,
yeah.
no.
Um,
Concise.
actually, it's more like this.
Yeah.
um, I would say for me, what got me to that? If I was gonna, um, I had to switch mindsets from I don't like. I had to be open to seeing all aspects of me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to be open to seeing the bitch. I had to be open to seeing the slut. I had to be open to seeing the anger, the hateful aspects of me. And in that, I looked at a lot of things. There was a lot of
All the
accountability.
things that made Kristen,
There was
so
a
to
lot of
hear.
taking
Yeah.
accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a lot of because we have these belief systems that we don't even know we have, right? And we could consciously think and feel one way, and our subconscious can have the complete opposite belief.
Yeah.
Like, and so we don't even realize that we believe something because our subconscious is like, no, I know that, like, that's wrong. I know it's not right to feel that way. And so we lie to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, lie is a strong word, but we do lie to ourselves. Everyone does
We do. Yeah.
all the time. And it's in that, like, admitting you lie to yourself, admitting, and that's why we don't trust, like, a lot of people don't trust themselves because they lie to themselves all the time. How can you
Mm-hmm.
trust yourself if you know you're lying? Like, subconsciously, you know you're lying.
Yeah.
So it's like when you admit, for me, when I admitted, okay, well, I'm as honest as I can be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm as honest as I can be, and I'm willing to be as honest as I can be. So telling, like, creator and God, universe, like, I'm willing to be as honest as I can be with myself so that I can live the life I want,
Yeah.
or I can live the life I prefer, because want is
Mm-hmm.
like, so I can live the life I prefer. I'm willing to be as honest as I can be with myself. I'm willing to take accountability and look at these aspects of myself. And in that, I was no longer running afraid of what I was going to see,
Mm.
because I was afraid to see this, like, with fear has a way of, like, making us believe something that's 8 million times worse than it actually is. Like, and fear has a way of making us feel like we'll lose everything, we'll be destroyed, we'll be like homeless, naked in the dirt, doing nothing. Like, you, like, even if you don't consciously think that, fear has a way of doing that. If I What will I see, what will I find? And I've found with so many clients as well, it's like, I don't want to know. And even with me, I realized recently I had a fear of not the unknown, but I had fear of the known in the expansion of like what's like out there really, right?
Yeah.
Like you have the fear of what is it going to mean if I've done this? It's that shame.
Yeah.
It's the fear and the shame. What does it mean about me if I admit I'm a liar because I lie to myself? What does it mean about me if I admit that I was a slut? What does it mean about me if I, however you define that? What does it mean about me if I admit that I'm mean? What does it mean about me if I admit that I have hate? And that's what I looked at. That was not the
Mhm.
brief answer, but it was as brief as I can make it.
Well, what I what I connected with when I asked you the question is radical responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like radical responsibility and truly choosing to never is maybe a little bit a big word, but at some point never looking away from anything that you are feeling, sensing, seeing, noticing in your own behavior. And
Mm-hmm.
because you speak about, well, the fact that, the sleds and the hater and all the aspects of what we are, because even if we are the nice girl, there are people that we hate. There are things that we hate. There are things that other people do that we hate. And also taking radical responsibility for those aspects of us, even though we are a nice girl, sheds a light on the authentic you. And
You can
and
even hate that you're the nice girl.
ugh, yeah,
Like, I mean, because
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's that taking responsibility. And for me, I had to move out of the shame of it, even because for a while, I was willing to look at it
Mm-hmm.
and I was willing to look at it, transform it. But then there was still this like, oh, but if people know, oh, but if people find out
Yeah.
that that my life was a mess or whatever we create in our head. I'm not just specifically talking about me, but like, whatever we create in our head. But then if we like move out of that shame and then we're like, yeah, okay, but I'm not that person anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's also them making that switch of I'm not that person, because we can make the shift, but then we can still treat ourselves like we're that person. And that's where, with the family aspect, it goes. And then again, of how they still treat us like we're that person, because in our head, we're still holding on to that person.
So is it I am not that person, or is it I am also that person and that's okay?
I think it's a combination of both,
Hmm.
because
Well, I'm also that person and that's okay because that's not the aspect of me that I choose to let lead my life.
yeah, I think it's how you look at it. As if I still identify with that person,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm still that person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or I can still go into that person. Not that I live in that space all the time, but if I still identify with it, if it still holds a trigger, if it still holds emotion, if it still holds that, then I am still holding on to that.
Hmm.
So I would say in that, for me, if I'm still have that, then I can still become that person, or
Mm-hmm.
like move. Not that I live there, but I can be like, oh, let's visit that, which is not
Yeah.
fun, and then like come back. But if for me, if there's no longer a trigger or a emotion connected to it, then to me it's like I was that person. I'm not choosing, like, that's not my story anymore.
Ah.
It's
Okay.
part of the story of my life, but it's not the
Mm.
story I'm choosing to live right now.
Yeah. So see, for me, it's much more, I am all of that, and still none of that defines me.
Oh, yeah.
Mm. So it's just, it's saying the same, but just a different way of
The
approaching it.
different perspective.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Because for me, like, for me, I like for what works for me is I don't want to hold on to, for me, if I think, well, let me organize my thoughts really quickly. If I was like, that's all of me, I think those are, for me, I would be like, that's what made me who I am
Mm-hmm.
in the now. Those were all aspects that helped me become, even the like transforming it and everything, all aspects of what helped, like made me become who I am in this moment, in this
Mm-hmm.
person, this reality, whatever we want to
Yeah.
say. Um, and there was a gift in every single thing. And I think that's the other big switch was like, what's the gift?
Yeah.
Like, not like walking away with like, I can never trust people, or like men cheat on me, or like like okay, yes, those things happen, but like what's the gift? The gift is I'm learning who and who not to trust. I'm learning how to like set my, so looking at those aspects that are the gift in that too.
Mm. And it's very interesting and important how you said it. For this example, for example, you said men cheat on me.
Mm-hmm.
So this is also believing a narrative that you create for
Yeah,
yourself
yeah.
because that every man cheats on you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it creates, and then that's what I'm creating.
Mm-hmm.
If I believe men cheat on me from all my past experiences, I have to really look at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have to really dissect that because that's
Mm-hmm.
not what I'm choosing to
To have in your
in my
reality.
life. That's
Mm-hmm.
the pattern I like. Let's look at what that is so that I'm not recreating it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's like where the brutal honesty comes in too.
Mm-hmm.
Because also they didn't, yes, they did that, but I let them. Like my belief systems let them.
Yeah.
My belief systems let them, and in that's what I chose. And that's like with the like we create our own reality aspect is my belief system, which was men cheat on me, brought in men who cheat on me,
Yeah.
who cheat. I attracted those men who cheat. And then because I believed that men were cheaters, right? So then
Yes.
that came in. So then that's what I attracted. That's what I brought in. And then if I believe they always cheat on me, well, of course they're going to cheat on me because I'm like creating that. That's what I believe. So when you switch the belief, you switch the values, the way you look at things, then you no longer are creating that. And if you recreate that, then you need to look more into
Yes,
what
because
you're
then if
recreating.
this is something that you recreate several times, then the question is also where do you cheat yourself?
Oh,
In which
completely.
aspects of your life do you cheat yourself? And in
Mm-hmm.
which, so, so this is a way of looking at the problem. What you also can ask yourself is, what am I not, which aspects of me am I
Mm-hmm.
not bringing into my relationship, which has the result of me cheating myself and being cheated on by my partner.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I like this idea of which aspects of me do I not bring into these aspects of my life, because, so for example, joy. How can you bring joy or love or attention or patience or whichever makes you heart tingle a little bit faster? I don't know.
Gosh.
So this which comes naturally to you, for example. That's why I bring in the example of joy. Being joyful is
Mhm.
something that comes very naturally to me. And so, in which aspects of my life, or so I'm being cheated on, why don't I bring more joy? Or, no, wrong question. How can I bring more joy, because this is natural to me, towards this aspect of my life that is not going like, or that is not unfolding like I want it to unfold?
Yes.
So that's another, again, another way at looking at addressing it and at taking radical responsibility of your creation, the creation of your life, is what do I have that I naturally can connect to, and how can I bring it to those aspects of my life that are not unfolding like I want them to?
Yeah. And like for me, a lot of that process was in what you were saying too. It was looking at like, okay, well, how am I cheating them? How am I cheating myself? And how am I cheating them?
Yes,
Because
exactly.
what I've realized is, in similarly what you were saying, is there's, so say cheating is the thing, right? So they're
Mhm.
cheating on me. Well, there's somewhere I'm cheating on them. And there's definitely somewhere I'm cheating myself.
Exactly, because the other is always only a reflection of
Mhm.
yourself. So
And,
where are you cheating yourself,
mhm.
or cheating them? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like another, like an easier example, I think, would be like control, right?
Mhm.
Like
In a
they're
relationship or just in
controlling
general?
in general. Like if
Yeah.
someone's controlling
Mm-hmm.
and you feel controlled, then how are you controlling someone? Or what are you trying to control? And what are you controlling in your own life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if you feel you're being controlled by someone, whether it's a partner, a job, whatever,
Yeah.
there are aspects within your life that are like, right. And I'm not speaking you particularly, I'm speaking the universal you.
No, no, I'm a
That's
controlling bitch. I agree.
you, you. That like there's those aspects that then you're like, oh, well, I'm controlling something.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I realized that too in my relationship. I was like, oh my goodness, like relationships and families, man. Woo!
Yeah.
There but it was, I felt, oh, he's so controlling. And then I started, as I was unpacking the relationship, it was like, oh, but man, look how I was controlling on this and this and this and this. It just played out completely different.
Yeah.
He tried to control my life in one way, and I tried to control his life in another.
Yeah.
And then it was easier to see that. But then when you go into the radical aspects, even of how am I controlling my day to day life,
Yeah.
myself, my body, how am I controlling my body? How am I controlling, like, I mean, it's just can go anywhere from there. Like,
Yeah.
but it's looking at the whole, and in that, the system. What is the
Mm-hmm.
system that
And
is created around this one thing?
you know, one of my favorite quotes, and I think I've already said this, and I don't know if it's, gosh, now I can't find his name. Tony Robbins,
Hmm.
or, and then I can't find the name of the other person that this might be a quote from, but okay, I'm going to say the quote. It's actually, yeah, it's a quote. How you do anything is how you do
Hmm.
everything.
Hmm.
And that is always true. Always, 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 always. I haven't found any aspect of my doing, of my being, of how I am in life that that doesn't suit to this quote. How you do anything is how you do everything. So, and this is particularly for me a beautiful invitation to look at the way I do things, because I know, okay, if I'm rushing through this, building my website, for example, if I'm rushing at, because I wanted to build my website and I wanted to be done yesterday, yes, I'm starting tomorrow and it's going to be done yesterday.
I
Okay.
wanted mine to be done years ago.
Yeah, okay. But you know, so how you're doing anything is how you're doing everything. And this is just an invitation. Okay, what other aspects of my life am I rushing through things? And it's not even it. And then for me, there wasn't even the necessity to understand why I was rushing through it, but just the understanding. So this is just an example. So just the understanding and the seeing that I was rushing through things just really supported me in not needing or wanting or wishing to rush through things anymore, and just made me observe how I am doing things.
Yeah. I, yeah, I definitely completely agree with how you do anything is how you do everything. And I
Yeah.
think where people can get stuck on that in the mind aspect is, well, I don't do it this way. Like I don't do that here, because it looks different in different areas of our lives. It's not the same, it's the same underlying pattern, but in different areas of your life, it looks different.
Exactly, but then you know what you do when you are doing that is you are cheating yourself. Ha, this is funny. You are, this is something where you know, you just keep, you are making the story
Mm-hmm.
more important than the grounding of what is.
Mm-hmm.
And the grounding, the ground on which you build your personality, your life, the person that you are, is much more important than your story.
Oh, completely.
And so when you say, yes, but okay, no, it's not the same, because it's like buying two sweaters in two different colors and saying it's not the same sweater.
and
I
and
mean,
I
who the
think
fuck are
that's
you kidding?
but I think that's where people get stuck, like where people can't make the connection
Mm.
because it's like that it's it's the mind games we play with ourselves.
Yeah.
It's this like, well, I can address this aspect, but I can't, I'm not ready yet to look at it, because it's really not a I can't, it's, I find it's for most people I'm not ready, or I'm like to, because when you're ready, it's really shown in your face.
I don't
But
believe in being ready or not being ready. I believe that's a lie that you tell
well, I
yourself because you're afraid, and it's okay to be afraid, but it's like, I mean, if it's here, and you need to address it.
I agree. I mean, in the being ready aspect of like your nervous system is willing to like feel safe enough to see it, right?
Okay,
Like where
that's
you're,
a different thing.
yeah.
Yes,
So
okay,
when I
okay,
say like
okay.
being ready, I don't mean being ready like in your
Mm-hmm.
mind. I mean
Okay,
like
yeah.
being ready to like, because you can see things for a really long time
Mm-hmm.
before you feel capable of addressing it.
Yeah.
And that's mainly because your nervous system is finally at a place where it's like, it's safe,
Yes, exactly.
right?
I agree.
So
That's a
that's
different
that.
thing. Yes.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I meant by like the being ready
Yeah.
aspect. So you can like see one area and not be willing or able, what for whatever reason, to look at how it's playing out in different areas. But it can completely play out, well, it does play out in everything. It's just
Mm-hmm.
looking at how is it shifted into a different picture or color, like if you want to take the sweaters,
Yeah.
in different areas of your life.
Yeah.
And for me, I found like under for me, yeah, the story isn't like, I don't want to get stuck in the story, but for me, understanding the story, like for me, breaks it out.
Hmm.
And not the story, understanding like how maybe it was created. Okay, the system that's attached to it helps me break out of the system.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as I can see the system, like this is attached to this, and this is attached to this, and this is attached to this, like for me, it works like kind of like a puzzle then like when I've completed it, it's like poof gone.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, that makes complete sense. I don't need that shit anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it gets my mind on board with the other thing, but it's not the story of the trauma. It's not the story of the trigger. It's not the story of whatever. It's my mind being like, okay, I'll agree. I'll agree. Whatever crazy shit you want to let go of. Sure, I'll agree. I got it now. So
Oh.
in that, this
Yes.
conversation has been amazing. So in that, the invitation is drumroll. What is the biggest, what is the loudest thing in your life right now that's shouting at you? The loudest pattern? What's that, the base of that pattern? So is it procrastination? Is it control? Is it fear? Whatever. And how is that playing out throughout your wheel of life?
So, what is the loudest pattern in your life right now that is
That is
playing out in your
creating,
life?
I would say, the loudest pattern that's creating a reality you don't prefer.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
And how is it playing out in different areas of your life? Like most of us know if we have like control, most of us know if we have procrastination. Most, like sometimes those patterns are the loudest, right? Because or they're the how we've always seen ourselves. Well, I've always been a procrastinator. First of all, stop saying that. Because if you're always one, you're not switching that up, right? So like
No, exactly.
it's
Yeah.
that pattern
Yeah.
and then look at it because it's usually loudest in one area,
Yeah.
right? And then how is it playing out? Notice how is it playing out in all areas, in your
I love
relationship
that.
with your parents, your partner, your children, work. How's it playing out in your day to day, your finances, your hobbies?
Your relationship to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I love
What other
that.
real life aspects
Yeah.
am I leaving out?
Yes, and when you are ready to share, let us know because we
Love to know.
are curious to know how you are self-sabotaging.
What would you say yours is?
In
Or
this
maybe we
case,
could just do a side post about it.
well, this is very interesting question, actually. At the moment, so which pattern in my life right now?
Maybe
Uh,
reflection, and then we could do a short bit, like a short call, and come back and share
yeah,
ours.
that's maybe a good idea.
Don't put me on the spot like that. I mean, I have to. I think I
Don't
have to
put
look.
me on the spot like this, Kristen. It's not about me, it's about other people, yes?
What is this radical responsibility? I'm not doing this right now.
I'm not doing this shit. Not today.
No, we'll come. We'll do
Well,
a
you know
side
what?
call.
This is very interesting, and I can answer this question actually. I have this will, this desire to things being always deep, and if they are not deep, I don't want to spend any time or attention on it. But that in itself also brings me in a pattern of procrastination with some things, which I then discover in my company and in the cleaning of my house, in the taking care of my body, in my relationship, in my sex life, in friendships, in yeah. So procrastination, which is a fantastic word that I can't say. See, that's why it's not supposed to be in my life. That's why I can't say it.
I mean, you also have like three languages to pick from, so you can't say it in one, say it in another.
Yeah, well, full disclosure, I have no idea what procrastination is in French or in Dutch. So,
Interesting.
It is very interesting. And just like I said, it's not supposed to be in my life. That's why one, in English, I can't say it. Two and three, I don't know what it is in other languages.
Interesting. That brings up a whole other thing.
Okay, so you, little lady,
I will take this thought and store it in a little
exactly.
container for later.
And you are going to tell me which pattern is for you the loudest at the moment.
Mm. I would say completing things.
Mm.
And it came up for me the other day. It was like what I was looking at, like my sabotaging business patterns. And um it was like taking like, well, it wouldn't be completing, I'd say making like a firm decision,
Mhm.
right?
And
Like,
sticking to it?
and sticking to it.
Mm.
And or making a decision. I don't even know if it would be sticking to it, because what I realize is in the story, but the reason why what came up and why I do it is I had, like, as a kid I was very impulsive and I didn't think things through. And I was always getting in trouble for everything I did because I never thought it through. And then afterwards I'd be like, oh. And so to get out of that pattern, I over exaggerated and created a new pattern of thinking through so many things before doing something. And so then I tend to talk myself out of things now.
Aha.
Mhm.
But the
So I
truth
guess that would
is,
be the thing, is talking myself out rather than just doing it.
exactly, because this is based on pain. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you heal the pain, this pattern is going to go away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it was like seeing that, and I was like, oh, and helping me see that, like, unlocked a lot for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, I get why I do that. Okay, well, I don't need to do that shit anymore. It's not working for me.
Mm.
That's I made that shit up, and now
Yeah.
it's not working. So I need to get rid of it.
So
Right?
who
Like,
made that shit up?
I
Kristen
did.
made that shit up. Stop it.
So now I'm like, well, that worked really well for me as a kid, to like shift from, like, I mean, it took me a really long time to like perfect that. And
Mm-hmm.
now I've gotten it and it's not working. It's
Yeah.
like, it's now moved from helping me to hurting me.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's no longer like,
Serving
it's
you.
no longer an effective strategy. And it's time to let it
Exactly.
go.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say, but how is that playing out? I mean, I think that plays out in so many things. I talk myself out of doing so many things I want to do. I talk myself out of doing like my divine inspiration. Like, I channeled a whole thing the other day. I was super excited about it. And I like created the whole thing, put it all together. I did the presentation, I did the sales page, I did contracts, I did everything. I got in bed and I'm like, I'm not doing that shit. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I was like, you just spent the whole day. What do you mean you're not doing that? Yes, you are. Yes, you
Mm-hmm.
are. You are
Mm-hmm.
doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, when I slowed down, all the like, but like the mental talking myself out of it.
Yeah.
So that's like, and where else do I do that? Like, oh my God, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I go into the overthinking, the logic, and the I can't do that, you know. Um, but it was created from the impulsive kid.
Mm-hmm. So go back to the impulsive kid. Go
And
back to
say,
your
do it
nature.
anyways.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff I got in trouble for too was stupid shit that, like, who cares?
Yeah, who cares? I
Who
mean,
cares? I got in trouble once. I don't know why this story comes up. There still must be something there, but I got in trouble once for eating birdseed.
eating what?
Birdseed.
Oh.
And my rationale was like, it's just nuts. Like it's
Yeah.
seeds and nuts. Like I just wanted to know what it tasted like.
Yeah. I mean, is
And
that
I
the
got in
worst thing
trouble
that you
for
can be
it.
eating?
I mean, yeah, clearly. I'm like, it was like a Snickers bar, just like without the chocolate. Like I literally remember thinking that. So like, but I got in a lot of trouble for it. And now I'm like, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
But it was like one of those things like where my curiosity was like, and then I got in trouble. So it's looking at that pattern and just letting it go in all areas. But
So,
anyway,
that being said, live your life as free as a bird. Yes. Do whatever
and
do whatever you want because who made that shit up anyway?
made that shit. Who said a bird's eat was bad? Birds eat it.
Yes.
That was my rat. Birds eat it.
Exactly. Quick, 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 quick.
Like,
Thank you, Kristen, for today,
thank
for
you.
your open-heartedness, and for this beautiful and great conversation.
Yes, thank you so much. Sending you and everybody so much love.
Yay! Bye.
Right.